Hey guys, so I got an interesting question through Facebook today from somebody who was asking about how do you be an advocate for objectivism in a world where it can cause problems in your work. And he said that he actually lost a job because his work was not happy with some of the stuff he wrote. And I don't know exactly what was written or all the details of that, but I did want to say a few things because I have really encouraged people, and many others in the objectivist world have encouraged people to speak out. And I stand by that, but I think there are some relevant things to say here. So, one is I'm not sure of this person's age, but he seemed to be on the young side. And the reason I always stress to speak out is because your values depend on promoting your ideas in the world. But the fact is, when we speak out, we can have a positive effect, we can have no effect, or we can have a negative effect. And particularly when you're young and you're just becoming acquainted with your ideas, it is very possible to have a negative effect because, in all likelihood, you don't fully understand these new ideas that you're thinking through, trying to adopt and integrate. And that doesn't mean that you just stay silent until you're 40, but it does mean that wanting to promote your values does not necessarily mean I'm going to go out into the world and publicly assert them on every forum. Uh, and I don't think in general people should do that anyway. I think you need to be selective. And as I've talked about in other videos, speak out when you know most clearly what you're talking about. But a few other thoughts that I think are relevant. So, one is the mindset when you're speaking out. Again, I don't know what this particular individual wrote, but just from my observations of what young people, including young Don Watkins, wrote online many, many years ago, um, focus on not I'm crushing the opposition, I'm fighting bad ideas, or even I'm fighting for true ideas, but the frame of mind is this particular act of communication helpful to the people I'm trying to reach? Just asking that question will stop you from sending a lot of stuff that you could regret and that could get you in trouble. It'll, for example, prevent ad hominems and personal attacks, which are often things that we can make us look bad and can get in trouble for. And you'll never ask yourself, is this really being helpful, and engage in that sort of behavior? That sort of behavior usually comes from feeling certain kinds of overpowering emotions in the grip of an argument or debate and acting usually in order to crush, destroy the other person. Then the other thing that I'll say is that, like, particularly when you're young and have larger social circles and um, like speak out and play with your ideas as you're learning them with trustworthy people in private. There's this equation with speaking out and speaking out on social media that is, I think, wrong. And look, if you're trying to become a writer or something like that, you can write anonymously, and it's also an issue of topic selection. So the vast, vast majority of what fall under pro liberty or objectivist ideas, in a sense, are controversial in the sense that nobody agrees with them, but they're not the kinds of things that get people fired. The kinds of topics that get people fired are a very slim part of the debate. You know, as an objectivist, you can come out as an atheist, you can come out as pro selfish, and you can come out for laissez faire capitalism in broad strokes. And I have not heard of a person losing their job because of those views. Like, maybe it happened, but you're just dealing with low margin probabilities versus speaking out on, like, well, I guess everybody's debating, racial and trans issues, and so I have to step a toe into that water. One reason to give yourself pause when you're young and still developing your ideas to, like, actively enter those debates is just the recognition that you're not going to be able to contribute much new to the debate. You'll most likely be regurgitating things that you've heard before. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just safer, more productive ways to do it. And so, like, I mean, even writing anonymously or having an anonymous blog that, look, nobody's going to read it anyway, but at least then, your employers can't find it and fire you. And so, again, I don't think, let me underline, I don't agree with this view of I have an excuse never to open my mouth if it's going to offend employers. I will never be able to get a job if I let people know that I disagree with X view. I think that is almost always false. You might lose certain jobs. You might find it hard to get certain employers. And maybe there are certain industries where that is just an across the board deal killer. But the fact is that just as there's many people who agree with these ideas or are scared to oppose these ideas, there are a few people who will actually view that as an act of courage. But they'll only view it as an act of courage if what you say has real power, clarity, and insight to it. And if you're still developing that, like, back in like the there are better ways to do it. And so my basic advice is to, yes, speak out. But if you're just getting started, if you're just developing your views, a lot of that should be, let me try, in effect, behind closed doors or in safer spaces, to work them out, to figure them out. Go to the Ayn Rand Institute Objectivist Academic Center, come to any sort of like classroom setting for pro-liberty people, and you'll be able to communicate and learn. And yes, you won't be changing minds, but you're not going to be doing that yet anyway. I mean, it really takes time to master communication and persuasion, and there's no reason to recklessly endanger your career when it's not because you're fighting for your values. It's because you're arguing with ideas that you don't fully yet know how to articulate and understand, and therefore achieving nothing good on the communication side and nothing good on the career side. So that's really the bottom line. That's what I think we should try to avoid. So hope that's helpful. Be sure, if you have any questions, comments, leave them under the video. And as always, subscribe to the newsletter, donswriting.com, and I will talk to you guys soon.